I had a lot of trouble. Every time I heard Mark Hamill, I'm just hearing the Joker now. It sounds bad. I know. Hey guys, this is Luke and Chum here from TT&E. That's right, folks. TT&E here with another drive home movie review. So this is a bit different.
This is a bit different because we watched the Star Wars The Last Jedi last night at midnight. But we tried to record the video straight after that on the way home, but we were just way too tired and we didn't have enough time to process what we just witnessed.
Not to mention,
and I felt like our review was inaccurate. I definitely don't feel the same way about the movie now as it did last night. Anyway, what were you saying?
But the other thing is also, much like Star Wars itself, we had a bit of a battle between the dark side and the light side. Yep. That video should be popping up on your screen right now. You can see what happened.
A lot too much of weird.
So,
and the light has fallen. Alright, are we good?
Yeah, it should be.
It was pretty funny. But anyway, let's get into the review this time. Luke, I want you to kick things off. What do you have to say about The Last Jedi?
I thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
Again, I too thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I think, like, when we first looked at it and walked away, I was like a little bit disappointed because I had a lot of expectations for this movie as to what I was going to see. And a lot of things that I kind of expected to see, I didn't see. And I think this movie is really good at taking your expectations and being like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But at the same time, it gives you other quality content that you weren't expecting. And I think that's like, one of the best ways to put it. And again, like, it is quality content. There is some great character development in this movie, in my opinion. And I think,
but at the same time,
very well done.
And not saying this negatively, but in no doubt is it not a sequel. It's definitely a sequel to a successful movie.
Definitely.
And saying that, I'm not trying to say all sequels are bad, but it was, it lived on a lot of the hype of the original.
I think one of the things is, when we first walked away, we felt like it didn't have that wow factor that Force Awakens had. Because, I mean, Force Awakens was the...
This is taking too long to go.
Fair enough. Force Awakens had this, like, massive wow factor because it was the first Star Wars movie of the decade since, like, early 2000, you know what I mean? So it was insane. It was super hype, and I think...
Plus they had 3 years of cut and polish onto that, and they had, like, the lighting effects were 2 point, like, they purposely made one scene where you're in the dark, where the lightsaber's the only light source, which is awesome.
Very cool. I think that just, like, because it was missing that wow factor, this movie, you walk away from it a little less like, oh my goodness. Because, I mean, we've had a Star Wars movie every year since Force Awakens, so it's a little less wow factor in that sense, but it was still a really good movie, and I think it definitely stands up to being one of the best when you really look at it, when you really think about it, because it has a lot of really good themes in it as well. Of course, right now we're not talking spoilers, so we can't go too deep into it, but there were some really great themes in this movie. And having thought about it more, like, last night and this morning, I realized that this movie really did deliver on the things that I wanted. And I think I can't talk too much about that in spoilers, but the Luke that they gave me, while I can't be happy about the tale that is the life of Luke Skywalker, it was a very, very well done story. And I think they had him in a good place, like, writing wise. I think it was a great, like, it was a great place. It was great to see Luke like that, you know?
Unfortunately for me, I had a lot of trouble. Every time I heard Mark Hamill, I'm just hearing the Joker now. It sounds bad.
I know. I definitely could get immersed into the Star Wars, into the what do you call it? Into the Luke Skywalker that Mark Hamill was putting out there. But I definitely feel like I was sitting there at the beginning, like, what is he going to say for the first time? And I'm pretty sure I can't remember exactly what he said, but I remember at the time I was just like, this is really his first words after 2 movies. Those are his first words.
We should also say that there's actually quite a bit of comedy in this.
Yeah, the movie is quite funny. I think at times, like, the comedy was a bit bad because it seemed like the characters were trying to be funny, and there's a difference between the characters being funny and funny things happening, right? And I think there was a little bit too much on the side of characters being funny, especially for people who were in an intergalactic war. At the same time, some light humor sometimes obviously is what you need to be able to keep.
There's a lot of jumping around too in this movie. There's a lot of time issue, but to me, it's still a really good movie.
I think,
and for the moments where there was bits where I was like, CGI is kind of lacking here. Yeah. There's other moments where you're like, holy, like, my lord, this is beautiful.
Sometimes certain scenes seemed a bit off to me with the CGI, but there were a lot more instances with the CGI just blew me away with how amazing it was. And I think, like Luke was talking about, different like kind of things happening. Like, so with this movie, you're not following the band of rebels. Everyone's kind of on their own little mission. And things, I mean, obviously Rey's not with Finn anymore, and obviously, like, you know, we're heavily following Kylo Ren and his journey as well. So a lot of the times there are a lot of things happening simultaneously, and you're just jumping around between them, which in a way can be a bit odd. At the same time, like, at first I didn't like it. Yesterday I didn't like it at first, but when I really thought about it, I was like, this still presented a really good story. And within each of those different shenanigans with, you know, what's happening with Rey, what's happening with Kylo, what's happening with Poe, what's happening with Finn, like, they all presented something that I quite liked. There was some character development there. There was purpose to all these things, in my opinion. I think they all added up to being a really great story.
To me. There's like one thing that didn't have purpose to me. I don't know if this is going to spoil it. You'll tell me if it is.
Yeah.
The puffin things.
Oh yeah, they didn't have purpose at all.
There is no
people flipped out because they were like idiots and they didn't want it to exist, but then they were just there. They weren't even a big deal. But I can't remember what they're called.
Oh,
you can chuck the actual name in as well.
Yeah, I'll chuck the actual name in down below. But I'll tell you this bit too, guys. We finally discover where blue milk comes from. I'm just going to leave it at that. You'll find out in the movie.
Yeah. No, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
One thing I do want to address is that, like, one thing we didn't talk about in our previous attempt at reviewing this was, like, the quality of different scenes. So there were some really, really, really awesome fight scenes and battle scenes in this movie. This movie opened up with one of the best, like, starfighter scenes I've ever seen in my entire life. It was absolutely amazing. Super, super cool. Again, like, the battle scenes, you know, the large-scale battle scenes in this movie were on point. They were very, very, very well done. And when it came down to lightsaber combat, while there wasn't the biggest amount, like, it wasn't like, you know, the Clone Wars where suddenly 7 Jedi appear out of nowhere and everyone's swinging lightsabers around, right? But there was a sizable amount, and where there was lightsaber combat and, like, that sort of, you know, fight choreography, absolutely incredible. I had to fight the urge not to swear because it was so amazing.
There was really good choreography. I don't want to go into it. I'll talk about it in the spoilers. There's a couple of things I want to say about that as well.
And these scenes were very heavy as well. So many very heavy scenes.
And there's things in it which belong to the extended universe, things that belong to the canon universe that aren't in the movies. There's, like, little things that we could all talk about, but we can't talk about here because it's not spoilers.
Yeah, not spoilers. But there are so many amazing plot points in this movie that make it really great. We can't really talk about it, but at the same time, I just think everyone's progression in this movie, Kylo's, Rey's, every single character's progression is really, really great. I will admit that there were a lot of questions that we had after The Force Awakens that still went unanswered, which is kind of depressing.
Or some had an answer that we were like, okay.
Yeah, some were answered just like, all right, that was just a passing comment.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you get an answer, but the things that, you know, most things that were answered really, really well, and I really, really liked what I saw. I think the movie as a whole was really good. And, like, while at first I was struggling to deal with the way that Luke was and the way that things were about him and the Jedi, it is what I wanted. I just didn't want to accept that what I wanted was what I saw. So I know, it was pretty crazy.
Do you know what another thing I just realized? And it's gonna sound silly. I'm watching this movie and we're talking about, like, how it looks. I didn't even actually see it as a J.J. Abrams movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't see there's no...
It wasn't a J.J. Abrams movie.
He's the director.
He wasn't the director.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Who's the director?
I don't know his name, but it wasn't J.J. Abrams.
Okay, I'm
J.J. Abrams is executive producer.
And
J.J. Abrams, I believe, is directing the next one. But the guy who directed this one apparently has now been given a deal from Disney to make his own like, spin-off Star Wars trilogy. So that's how much Disney liked this movie.
Okay, there you go.
Like, that's pretty crazy. I think that facts may be wrong, but I believe that's
maybe it's something to do with that final scene that we saw. But
yeah, I think it was very, very, very well done, and it takes a second to absorb and really understand. Because again, one thing I was talking to Luke about yesterday was that it's hard to walk out of the movie and start reviewing it because you kind of have to find out how this jigsaw piece fits in this giant puzzle that is Star Wars.
There's more than one episode.
We have to. Yeah. So we really have to kind of figure out how this fits in, and I think it fit in really well. And I think it had some of the best scenes that I had seen in this movie, and it was very long as well, which to me gave credit to it because there were a lot of things happening at the same time. So you didn't feel like there was a lot of progression happening at some points. Like, you felt like you were kind of watching the movie, and like 5 minutes were passing every half hour because you kept jumping around everywhere. but because of the length of the movie, you really kind of felt as though a lot of stuff happened.
And let's say this
was
though,
very
we went saw it at midnight,
and the stakes were high.
Yeah, and the length of the movie, when you're out at midnight, you're getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's a bit rough.
It was fun, but it was like.
Either way, I think we should probably start talking about spoilers now. So, but before we do that, do you think it's worth the drive?
Do I think it's worth the drive? Yes, definitely worth the drive, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. Even if you're little kids too, little kids can see this movie. I can't see anything other than maybe 1 or 2 people getting cut, you know, in the movie.
I think definitely like
a couple of upsetting moments where there's explosions, but you know,
yeah, I think the movie was really good. I definitely think it's worth the drive as well. It was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think the fact that it had some pretty heavy like themes as well that really got you thinking in certain moments. I think it was just such a good movie, well put together, like just great job, and incredible character development for the little screen time that each character had gotten, and then of course incredible battle scenes and incredible fight scenes. It was a great experience. I definitely recommend it to anyone, even if you're not too much of a Star Wars fan. If you kind of like, as long as you don't hate Star Wars, I think it's definitely something you can watch. Either way, let's jump into spoilers. One more thing.
So don't forget about there is no end scenes.
Yes, there is no post-credit scenes. Unless for some reason they didn't want to put it in the midnight,
in the old Australian release or something like that.
But yeah,
for us here in Australia,
there was no midnight. That's midnight. What? Mid-credit scenes.
Yeah, end credit scenes.
Mid-credit, end credit, whatever. No credit scenes. Now let's move on to spoilers. Luke, what's going to happen before we jump into spoilers?
We're going to switch between the Rebel sign and the Imperial sign. Hopefully that looks good. Fingers crossed. I'm apparently the one doing it.
So. He's definitely the one doing it. Anyway, Luke, spoilers, what do you want to talk about first?
First thing, and that's something like I was really missed out on saying last night, the acceleration of the ship using the
oh yes, when I can't remember she was an admiral, right?
She was
I can't remember her name, but
she shot her ship.
The way she without locking corners or anything, she just fired up the hyperdrive and went straight into Snoke's gigantic Star Destroyer, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely amazing to see that. It was
the fact
absolute
they made
marvel.
No noise.
No sound, just straight
around us.
And then just
we heard people. It was like everybody going,
everything gets destroyed. Everyone's like, whoa.
This is a moment where I was sitting there going, the CGI in this moment here was on point.
Phenomenal. I couldn't have imagined anything better. It was so good.
And I've always wondered what would happen, like, because I know you had to plot courses to get through stuff to do, like when you jump to
light speed. You saw what happens if you hit something in light speed.
Yeah, and it's like,
absolutely insane. Very, very nice scene. What else do you want to talk about in spoilers? I have a few things. I'm trying to remember, but I can't.
Other things I want to say. Yoda. Yoda. We have both had made a comment as they made a CGI Yoda.
They made a CGI Yoda that looked like the puppet Yoda that we saw in the first movie.
Yeah, which like, we have no issue with CGI Yoda. CGI Yoda was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
I definitely understand that CGI Yoda couldn't look like Episode 2 Yoda because they're, I mean, while it was only a few years, you can definitely tell that there was some aging happening between, Episode 2 and
3 and 4 and 5.
Yeah, Episode 2 and 3 before Episode 5. I can understand that, but he definitely looked a little bit too puppety.
Yeah,
I think they could have made him a little more lifelike in that.
I sat there for a moment and I felt like I was watching the Muppets.
Yeah.
All the Muppets probably.
I didn't have too big a problem with it, but I definitely, like, in hindsight, I realized it was a bit odd.
Like when Luke is talking to him and he's just like looking at him like next to him, I'm like, oh my god, it's like the Mark Hamill special from Sesame Street back in the 70s or like whatever 80s.
I think though, like, despite the visuals, I think his appearance and what happens revolving around Yoda, I think was very, very good. I think one thing I noticed was that Yoda didn't seem to have his same values as he did before he became one with the Force. So I really feel like, that had been a learning experience for him as well.
No, I say not only say that. This is what I say. Yoda, what a I don't want to say legend. I'm trying to get the right word, but basically trickster. Yeah, basically what he did to Luke, he's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna blow up the tree for you, destroy all the sacred texts.
Luke was like, I'm gonna destroy the sacred text, and he couldn't bring him to do it after lighting the fire.
Yeah,
and then Yoda was like, I got it.
But this is what you missed.
I didn't notice this.
In the drawer. Now, if you haven't checked this out, check out the movie again. in the drawer when Finn is actually trying to find some first aid kits for the girl, Rose. I actually remember her name now, Rose.
Yeah.
So Rose, the books are there. All the sacred texts are there. So Yoda already knows his religion is going to carry on because she's taken the books. So it's like, you know, what?
Yeah. Pretty crazy. But yeah, on top of that, I also want to talk about the whole end fight scene involving Snoke. Like, in that scene where, you know, Kylo Ren and Rey kind of have this clash. They have this major confrontation, very reminiscent of Return of the Jedi, where Vader brings Luke before the Emperor. And you have this kind of like, both sides are trying to pull the other one over to theirs. Like, you know, Rey is trying to pull Kylo to the light, and Kylo is trying to pull Rey to the dark side. And it's this really interesting experience because also in that moment you learn that Snoke was the one who put those ties between them so that they would have this, you know,
epic moment.
That would bring the two of them to believe that there was, you know, darkness or goodness in the other one, and try to help the other one, bringing to this moment here. And after Rey's attempt to defeat Snoke, where she couldn't, because he is very, very powerful, Kylo goes to strike her down, and in that same moment, you know, Snoke is saying that he's inside Kylo's mind, and he can tell that Kylo was, you know, raising his lightsaber to strike down this evil before him, or this, you know, this thing that he hates before him. I can't remember exactly what the words were.
I think it was hates. Yeah.
And it was really, really interesting because this supreme leader, all-powerful being who believes that he has so much power, made a massive oversight and did not realize that the entire time Kylo was tilting or turning the lightsaber, Anakin's lightsaber, to strike Snoke down.
Which also was,
and I thought that was really great.
It was Anakin's lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it. Again, it was the, I want to say light side lightsaber, but it's kind of hard to say that when it literally murdered children. But you know what I mean. And it was really, really symbolic that it was the blue lightsaber, I guess the light side lightsaber, the Jedi lightsaber, that was the one to strike down Snoke through the quote-unquote hands of Kylo Ren. I think very symbolic, very awesome scene, and it goes to show how arrogant and how blind even those who think they aren't blind the Sith can be.
Well, here's a fan theory suggestion. I just remembered this bit where he turned around and he was talking to Rey about him and Kylo, and he said, "Oh, as he grows stronger, you grow stronger. It's a joint thing." Who is Snoke's joint thing? Maybe it's Luke. Maybe the reason why he wasn't doing so good at that moment was because Luke wasn't doing so good at that moment.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, it's like, they talk about as long as he gets more powerful, you don't get
the whole point is that it should always be balanced.
On that point, the scene, okay, so on the salt plains, I love the change of the salt to the red.
Yeah, very cool.
I think that was really cool.
Really nice.
And it kind of might make sense. The fact that Luke, when he gets blasted out, he just a little shoulder shake. I think you
very. It was a bit, to me, in some sense, out of character. It seems a little bit arrogant, but at the same time, in hindsight, when you're like, oh yeah, it was just a force mirage that he generated, I can kind of see that. He was trying to aggravate Kylo. Yeah. So it definitely it fits.
And it works out for his legend that he stood there, because nobody saw him actually, like nobody except for the First Order saw him disappear. So
he built this legend that is Luke Skywalker, the Jedi that faced an army,
which then rebuilds the Jedi Order. Like we already see that with the kid.
It builds faith in the Jedi.
Like the kid could use the Force to pull the broom.
I saw that and I was like, whoa.
Wait, we're not gonna have any more comment about that? And it's like, yeah,
it was pretty cruel. Not cruel, pretty cool. One thing I also want to talk about is some more about the Force, and it is a very, very, very sleeper Force season. That is Leia Organa. Like, want to talk about what happened to Leia when she got blown out of the bridge of a gigantic rebel.
So we all know that
ship.
That she's passed away in real life, the Carrie Fisher, and so we're all expecting
her to die in this
pass away, so they can, because we actually hadn't really made a comment about how they're going to do this.
Yes, they hadn't said anything
because we were all sitting, and so we were all expecting them to try and let her move on. You know, no. The moment when we thought, oh, here we go, she's gone, it's going to be down to Poe now, Poe's going to have to do so much more work.
Yeah.
No, she goes, oh, look, super Force.
She literally, like, subliminally uses the Force to bring herself back into the ship, which I thought was really, really insane.
To blow up the door, too. When she walked into the, to take out Poe for trying to take over the car.
I mean, that could have been her awakening in the Force, you know?
I don't think it was awakening. I think she knew how to use the Force.
I mean, the whole point was the thing that they mentioned was that she doesn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely believe that Luke would have trained to some extent. Like, I don't think she'd be like a master Jedi.
No.
But the fact that she can kind of Force push, I don't believe that what happened when she was out in space was a conscious action.
No, I don't think it was conscious.
I feel like it was very heavily guided by the Force.
I think she must have had. She's got some sense of like using the Force.
Yeah, she definitely should have some knowledge about how to use the Force.
Yeah, and which is kind of like
no way she wouldn't.
It's kind of like, it's like cool in one way, and then in
I thought it was very insane. It was a bit weird that we didn't have any kind of explanation.
In the actual books, like in the original old extended universe, which is no longer canon,
she was a
Jedi.
Jedi.
Oh no, I was partially.
She was a nun.
She was trained.
Yeah.
She got trained by Luke. Luke helped her like her abilities, but she kept being a diplomat, and she was never fully part of the Jedi Order because she had to be a diplomat, and but she had the ability to use the Force. Like, it depends. If she was trained, why didn't she train Ben herself? If you know what I mean, like, just little things going on.
I think it's like she wanted to learn more about this Force, but she didn't want to. Like, she didn't have to
maybe
desire
she
to
was
master
worried
it.
about. Maybe it was worried about her father.
Could be.
You know, little things like. Saying on that was really cool scene at the end of that bit too. When we're talking about Luke, Luke doing the whole like he was contemplating in a moment of pure instinct. He pulled out his lightsaber and started it up.
Yeah, that whole thing with with even Luke being tugged out by the dark side when he tried to face Kylo or Ben about the darkness within him.
I was hoping though we were going to find out that Snoke had snuck into Luke's mind for a sec or something like that.
I would have liked to see a little bit more of that impurity, like something that actually caused him, rather than just he himself not being able to fight that momentary lapse. I mean, at the same time, he was in the presence of someone who he felt so much darkness in. And I think one of the biggest things that I remember from the Expanded Universe, the old one, was that Luke was very cautious of the dark side. And so he had very little experience with dealing with it surrounding him, He could, pull out the light from Vader, but in terms of him being able to repel the darkness from himself, that's not something that he was the most willing to confront. And so I can understand that Luke would be in a situation and he would feel this darkness that he senses within Kylo that could, that darkness surrounding him could have caused him to pull that, to unsheath his lightsaber, I guess draw his lightsaber. And then, I think it was a really crazy moment, and it really goes to show how fickle the balance is between the light and the darkness. And one thing I want to note is that in the Jedi Temple, one of the places that Luke showed Rey, there was a Jedi symbol, the old Republic or the old Jedi Order symbol on the floor, and you know how it has that kind of that shape with the lightsaber beam in the middle.
My apologies.
Please try to drive straight. It was my street. I don't know why you didn't go into it, but whatever. But yeah, they had that old Jedi symbol. You can chuck it on screen to people. I don't know if to explain it, but one side of the symbol had light on it, and the other side had darkness. It goes to it makes me believe that the Jedi were once an organization or an order that did
I believe
understand.
They were. In the canon storyline, I'm pretty sure it is. They are originally one, and then some of the Jedi used their power for bad, and then they became the Sith.
I just feel like.
Just made it back to the home where to drive home movie review, so we're at the end. I don't know what you got anything else you want to say?
I think we covered everything I wanted to say.
Hit that subscribe button, guys. Hit that like button if you liked us. Hit the bell icon if you want to hear more from us.
And make sure you join in the discussion in the comment section below. If you guys have anything that you want to say about the movie, or you want to disagree with us, agree with us, share your own opinions, do that. But of course, if you're going to talk spoilers, make sure you put a spoiler tag, a couple of lines, that way people don't accidentally read it. And I guess that's everything. So
other than that, all I can say is check it out. Go and check out this movie.
It's a good movie. Definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
And guess with that all said and done, until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Catch you later.